Hello there guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Black Clover chapter 267. Now the official release does come out on Sunday. I am recording this video on a Saturday. It is late, so my apologies, just a few things came up back end of the week that essentially unfortunately had to take priority. That being said, Sunday's a busy day. It's my daughter's 4th birthday, so it wouldn't really be practical for me to do this video on a Sunday, even though realistically the official release does come out on that day. With that being said, let's get straight into this review. So, the chapter. Before getting into the chapter, I just want to touch on a translation difference. As you know, when me reviewing the chapters based on scanlation or spoiler reviews, there can be discrepancies in translation. And one of the main ones I want to talk about was a translation that was done last chapter at the end, where we see the anti-magic demon basically saying, to think you'd let me out, you'd be the one. But in the official translation, it says to think you'd let me out voluntarily. So there is a difference. So the difference is in terms of tone. So you could see that the AMD, or as people like to call him in the Reddit, or the anti-magic demon, his tone towards Asta is different. Whereas when you look at the first translation, he seems a little bit more negative towards him. When you see in this official translation, it seems more surprised. So that being said, it's an interesting tidbit to think about when moving into this chapter. So this chapter is heavily centric around Asta, Nacht, and the anti-magic demon. For clarity, the demon's form, as we saw towards the end of the last chapter, isn't Asta turning into a demon. It's the demon looking very similar to Asta. A lot of people in the Reddit basically said he looked like an elf version of the lightning character that we have in the Black Bulls, whose name escapes me right now, funnily enough, I'm on camera. Sorry. And essentially, they're kind of hinting that potentially there's elf heritage there, like a fallen elf or a dark elf or something like that. Now, let's move into the tidbits of this chapter. So the first few things, I did make notes about this, is the conversation between Asta and the demon. So the first thing is, the demon specifically says, based on this translation, which could be different, that it's been a while since I've been out. The problem you have with that is it doesn't specifically state a time, or it's been 20 years, or it's been 100 years, or it's been 500 years. So we don't necessarily know the age of this particular demon, or how long back he's talking about. With that being said, with that kind of lack of clarity, this could easily be something that they can kind of key into in follow-up chapters, especially due to the events of this one. So anyway, moving back to this conversation. So the conversation starts, he talks about it's been a while, and then there's a back and forth between Asta, and the first thing Asta says is thank you, which is probably surprising. It is very Naruto-esque with Kurama, and basically he says thank you for all the times you basically saved my life with your magic power. And the demon's like Sundaresh, and he's like, what are you talking about? You shouldn't be saying stuff like this to a person who's taken your arm. But Asta's like, but yeah, that was fair, but that was a promise, that was an exchange. So he doesn't see like that he's made this big sacrifice, and it's a bad deal that he's taken with this demon, and there seems to be a degree of trust from Asta's side to this demon. Then you get Nacht chiming in as well, but before that, the demon starts attacking him. He takes the demon dweller sword out of Asta's grimoire, and he basically starts attacking him. A funny tidbit in this situation is basically when Asta says, wait a minute, you're a kid too, you're small as well, why are you going to beat me up? I don't want to get beaten up by you. Which is funny, because when you think about all the interactions they've had in the past, the demon's been massive, he's been huge in size to intimidate Asta, and it's funny that if this is actually his true size, that he literally is the same size, and he's possibly a young demon. So that was kind of funny. Then this is when Nacht chimes in. He's like, you need to defeat him, otherwise you're not going to get stronger. The fact that it's a forbidden ritual, and then they talk about the altar being essentially the home for all the fallen people who are unable to defeat or control the demons in this ritual. It is a forbidden magic, and if he's unsuccessful, he will basically become a lower level monster who is possessed. And Asta disagrees, and Asta says, this guy's not even trying to kill me, I can tell. I can tell by reading his chi. This is important because Nak doesn't know what he's talking about, and this is very telling because of the relationship Asta has had with Yami and the relationship Nak has had with Yami. And the difference is Yami basically teaching him about chi and not teaching Nak about chi is telling of where the relationship was in terms of how close they was and how much interaction they had. You got to bear in mind they were on the same team. Before Yami became a captain, Yami made Nak the vice captain, but he's basically not really been around. So the relationship isn't as fleshed out yet, and it's possibly because Yami saw some of himself in Asta as to why he basically taught him the chi or the ki method. That being said, he basically says that he's not trying to kill me. And then there's a conversation where essentially Nact is like, no, they're all bad. To which the demon agrees and says, look, they're all scumbags, and I'm trying to kill you. He goes, just because you're a demon doesn't make you a bad guy. And this triggers a memory within the demon who says something along the lines of, damn it, or why did I have to think about this at this time? And you see kind of a silhouette, kind of an after image next to us of a similar size of a woman, and she utters the same words, it doesn't mean you're a bad guy. That is how it ends, and that is a very telling part of this chapter. What does this all mean? I mean, so that's me doing a play-by-play. I've talked about the chapter. What does it really mean? So I want to explore that a little bit. Now, one of the beautiful things I like about this community with any kind of manga is the theories. One thing I want to point out is there's a reviewer, Anime Balls Deep, Abed I believe his name is, who talks a lot about different theories around Black Clover, Asta's heritage, and so on and so forth. So if you think back now, we knew that Asta and Yuno were found in a basket at the orphanage. We now know how Yuno got there. We don't know how Asta got there, but they were found at the same time. So the events leading them to both being in the basket at the same time must have happened within a few moments of each other and around the same timeline. If you think back now, when you think about previous chapters and what we've kind of found to be happening, there are little things and little tidbits that the writer likes to leave. From my understanding, the writer is a big fan of Yu Yu Hakusho. And a lot of people believe, and it's a theory, that potentially like one of the main characters, or the main character, that Asta potentially is like half and half. He's half human, half demon, or he's half demon, half angel, and basically he's kind of got a recessive gene and ended up with no power rather than all the power. Kind of like a failsafe when angels and demons procreate. That being said, there are tidbits that help you realize this. So when you look back at chapter 242, and this is when essentially the Black Bulls are fighting against Dante, there's a part where essentially Dante is trying to, get out the malice, get out the rage, really, release some of that demon power, and he attacks Gouch, and then there's a flashback little panel, and it's easily missed, and it shows what seems to be a woman with blood in her chest, or coming out of her chest, and she says something along the lines of, my dear son. So it can't have been Asta's memory, because Asta would have been an infant, and it's very vague because even Yuno didn't remember anything about his past. He had to be told, and he had to look into somebody's memories to do that. But could this be the demon's memories? Could this be something that the demon had gone through? And that's why Asta raged out. And it wasn't Asta really raging, it was the demon raging because of a memory he had where Dante potentially killed this woman who seems to be just like Asta, who possibly is Asta's mother. Asta's mother being dead, we've not heard from her, we don't know where she is potentially a thread line now we can go down to find out more about Asta's heritage, Asta's background, because we don't know. That being said, what was her relationship to Dante? Was she from Spade Kingdom as well? Was she a noble? Was she a fallen noble? Was she a noble? But we don't know none of this. But it's interesting to speculate about all these different things, and I'm excited to see where these lead. Now the problem with all of this is, how did this piece together with the demon? Because the demon essentially came from the grimoire, from my understanding, and he was in the demon. He was in the demon dweller's sword. So how has it got to be that this bird has basically been, the bird being Nero, been protecting this grimoire for 500 odd years, but then somehow this demon's linked to that grimoire, and he's got memories of a lady who's potentially Asta's mother or ancestor. Now, if it's an ancestor, that's 500 years ago, but why was he raging when Dante kind of erupted with his, malice being making you human business? We don't know, so we need clarity in that. If it's a case that it's from 20 years ago, then there's a lot more going on between the demon and Asta than we are led to believe. Could he be a relative? Could be a father? Could he be a brother? We don't know any of this, but it's going to be interesting to find out. Possibly he's a friend. One of the other theories that's gone out there is the name of the demon is Astaroth, and Asta's name comes from Astaroth, and basically the mother chose the name Asta for him in homage to Astaroth, who is a friend of the mother, and they had a dear relationship. We don't know. These are loads of different theories out there. I'm looking to see what comes true. But feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe for this video, and I will see you in the next one. As always, peace.